Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Buff Naggle the podcast, where we explore entertaining and enlightening discussions of the adventure of life and all things good. From science and technology to history and philosophy to leadership and success. We hope to give you a better understanding of the world and skills for everyone to pursue their own adventure. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Buff Naggle the podcast, where we talk about all things good, the pursuit of the adventure of life. I'm Zach, and we're going to have a very, very good show today. I think this is something we've been putting together for a while, combining a lot of things we've talked about, talking about role models, teachers, coaches, the people that influence our life and the role they play in our life beyond just preparing us for success and how we can celebrate our successes regardless of how small they are and celebration of the whole person. However, I can't do this alone, so as always, I'm joined by my first ever coach, my dad, Rafe. Rafe,
Yes.
how are you doing
All
today?
right. Zach, I am phenomenal. Thank you. It is a great day to be doing a podcast with you. Summer is here, and that is a wonderful thing. And you know what I did the other day, Zach? Before I get started, before I tell you that story, let me do what I always do, and I always do this because it is so fundamentally important to what we do on a daily basis. We are grateful beyond measure to our listeners for listening and for being part of this Buff Naggle world that we've created. Without you, we would be nothing. Remember, we are all over the internet, Zach. We're on Twitter, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. We are so everywhere, Zach. This is what I wanted to get to. We were so everywhere. The other day, I bought one of those scratch-off lottery tickets. You know, you take the penny, and you scratch off the little, and then what are you supposed to do with that dust? I'd never really know. But anyway, I scratched it off, and I thought it was like the first one, it said $50. The next one said $100. The next one said $200. And I got all the way, I was looking, and the last one, I was like, I hope it matches. I scratched it off, and you know what it said? It said, listen to the Buff. And I was like, well, did I win or not? And I thought, you know what? I really did win because I listened to the Buff. All right, so we are everywhere out there, and if there's a place we need to be, you just let us know. Hey, if you're new to this podcast, welcome. We appreciate you being here. Listen and come back for more, because I'm sure we're going to be talking about something that resonates with you. And remember to tell a friend to listen, and you get a free episode. And if you subscribe, and if you give us a 5-star review, then Zach, I get pudding, and you get...
I get these brownies that I had been snacking on all day next to me.
Nice naked brownies. So, hey, that's Zach. That's where we are. That's what we're doing. We're glad you're here. I'm glad you're here with me, and I'm glad the listeners are here. And hey, tell me something about role models.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, coaches, role models, teachers, anyone in that growth position to affect youth in some way has a role beyond just preparing them for the next level. If you're a teacher, your job is to prepare the kid for the next step in their education. If you're a role model, you're supposed to be a role model, set an example, lead from the front, show whoever it is who looks up to you what makes you unique and special. And then as a coach, yes, your job is to prepare the kid for the next level, whatever that looks like. If it's high school to college to professional level, whatever it may be. But additionally, these coaches, these role models and teachers have the role of to shape the kid and to provide them opportunities to be successful, even if they don't have the level of talent of some of the people around them. They need to create the environment so that they can feel comfortable in that space so that they can go on later in life. And this is something I've talked about a lot before, about how sports are a safe place to fail. A coach is going to provide that opportunity, provide that space so that when the kid moves on, if they struggle with something, they have a mirrored, adjacent experience that they can rely on, that they can pull from so that they can be successful when they meet failure or when they stumble with something else or when whatever it is, the roadblock comes up. They're like, hey, I've done this before. I can move through. I can work on. And providing that as a teacher, as a role model, as a coach is vitally important. And I think in today's society, it's been forgotten. And it's now about just being the best of the best of the best. Sure.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing because I look back on this and I remember playing Little League. We had Little League Major and Little League Minor. Zach, I have a trophy from being Little League Major champ. We were a champion. No, Little League Minor. It was minor because I don't remember if it was coach pitch or kid pitch or whatever. But this was when it first started. Zach, we played I guess it was softball, or maybe it was underhand pitch baseball. I don't know what it was. But we played on this little field in Hartford, Wisconsin, and we played in cutoff jeans and t-shirts. There were no uniforms, there were no cleats, there were no hats. We just showed up and people played. And did I ever tell you this, Zach? I struck out twice once in the same inning.
Yes, you
I
have.
was the first out of the inning. I was the last out of the inning. I struck out twice, and it was horrifying. But we still won, and I got a trophy, and I still have that trophy in a box somewhere. And but what's interesting is that was back in I'll say the early years of Little League. And from what I understand, talking about people who grew up in the 50s, that's when Little League really started. Right. So they actually had uniforms that looked like the major league uniforms. But before that, guys like DiMaggio, Zach, how did he get found? He didn't play Little League. They just went out and they played ball in the street. And the guy who was really good, right? They went on to be something else. There were no little leagues. There was no Little League major or minor. There were no travel teams. None of that other stuff existed. And the sport was a place to play and to figure out who you were with regard to that. And I think the same probably goes for theater. It goes for music. Some kids, we all took piano lessons or some kind of lessons like that. We all learned some music stuff. Some kids, they go to summer camp, they do plays and stuff. But I think the teachers,
art camp.
yeah, we did art camps. Zach. We painted, we glue rocks together, make little rock figures, and we paint them. And some kids could make them look awesome, like you'd want to buy it in a gift shop. And mine looked like dirt. Right? It just wasn't any good. But I think what has happened, okay, and it's valuable to recognize this, is it stopped being about growth and about providing a safe space for failure and something to do during the summer to keep you out of your mom's hair. It stopped being that and started to be this competition to be the best of the best of the best, sir. And I'm just wondering if it's better now because of that. Are the kids are the kids that grew up doing that stuff and then eventually made it to the highest level, whatever it is, whether it's in opera or in water polo or in theater, whatever it is, are they better than their comparators 60 years ago who didn't go through all that training? Is it really worth anything? I mean, I know we're teaching calculus to kids now in 7th grade, and that's a discussion for a different story. A discussion for a different story. I
don't think it's a discussion for a different story. I think the idea of talking about calculus, teaching them to something like are we teaching the kid calculus because they understand the math, or are we teaching kids calculus because it checks the box? It's like, hey, look, you're great at this thing, and then we're celebrating the fact that, hey, look, you're great at thing, rather than the teacher being curious on the other side of saying, hey, do you understand this? Do you see where this shows up? And engaging the holistic view of education. We've lost that. We've lost that in coaching as well. It's now about the coaches. I coach this AAU team. I do this thing. We post our highlights to YouTube. Some guy on our team got to ESPN. Look how cool we are. Great. Yeah. But what about the kid who's your 7th man in your rotation, who's getting minutes, who's chipping away, who's working really hard? He's not going to show up on the highlight reel, but he's working his butt off. He's having fun, and he's enjoying the game. That's worth celebrating.
In fact, that probably ought to be what is celebrated, right? And I'm going to go back to the calculus thing here a little bit. And there are things that you do as an adult that require you to have been a kid in order to get it, right? And I can't contemplate how you can really do high-level mathematics like calculus without having a decent amount of life experience, unless you're one of these Mozart, Gauss kind of, Ubermensch kind of folks that are the superheroes when it comes to this thing. You need life experience to do these things. And I've never been a big fan of that, because I think what happens in the place of learning the basic skills for how to live a successful life in the human condition, that gets lost trying to reach the pinnacle, be the first kid to fly an airplane at age 8 or something like that. How about it being okay for us to learn, to learn the things we need to learn to be better people? Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, and I think, no, I don't think it is. And I think I've seen this more as I've gotten older, and I reflect back and I look back at youth sports, and I especially look back at sports today. I think we've mentioned on the podcast before. I have played at a very high level, um, and I have played against professional athletes. I have played with professional athletes. I have touched that stratosphere, so I know what it takes to get to that level. Additionally, I look at like what's going on with youth sports today, and I don't see kids coaching their players ways to be like, hey, this is what hard work gets you. If you show up and you work hard, okay, cool. You've earned a starting spot. Like that's good. That's worth to be celebrated. You might not be the best player, but you've earned that spot to say reflect and say, hey, look, this is something that matters. It's important. This is me showing you that. And that can translate further down the line as you leave sports, and you can be like, hey, look, I know that this hard work is going to allow me to, show up fully for my boss or whatever it may be. Or maybe, you understand like hard work in an academic sense, and you're able to do something that you struggled at before. Maybe it's a math problem, a physics problem, whatever it may be, but through hard work, working through it, practicing, getting better at it, you can improve your grade from like a 60 to an 80. That's also worth celebrating. It's beyond the fact of like, hey, look, you're the valedictorian, you're the star player, you're the MVP, you're the best dancer, you're the queen of dance art camp. Those things. Instead, like, look at the fact that like the coaches need to be teaching these skills, these lessons that are more important than sports itself. And I've said it before, we don't play sports to be good at sports. We play sports to teach us about life, because we're going to learn about life, but we might as well have some fun while we do it.
Yeah. So do you see, like, there are a lot of, I mean, there are kids, how do I say this? My mom used to say it this way. She used to say that, they had a whole bunch of grandkids. My parents did. And, she said they're not all A's, right? There are some, some will do very well in certain things. Some will do well in other things. Some will thrive academically. Some will thrive athletically. Some won't thrive very much at all, but there has to be a way to uphold, I guess I'll call it human dignity. There's got to be a way to uphold human dignity for all of these people. All right. And it's sports, theater, academic credentials, whatever it is, youth growing up can only be about reaching the top, because then you're going to run up against kids that have the desire, but don't have the talent. And suddenly they're going to get left behind. And then what do you got? Are they going to seek, these days we are all seeking the magical, what do we call them? Smiley stars on the social media page. And I got to believe that a lot of the, what do we call it? The dysfunction we're seeing is a desire to get to these things when you don't. Sorry, you're not all A's. You're not all going to make it. You're not all going to be on the Sports Center highlights or on the. You're not going to play at the Met, right? Or you're not going to get the corner office. Some of us are just born to get our way through it and to show some human dignity, have a little family, and then go on. So this is a tough thing if the bar is set so high that the regular people have nothing to do other than look for brushes with greatness when they happen to run into Derek Jeter on a subway.
Yeah, and is that worth it? I don't think so. But and with that, not everyone being A's and things like that, it's just like, cool, that's great. But can you say that you as an individual showed up to whatever event it is, fully prepared, fully confident, and whatever happened, happened? If you can say that, yeah, I fully showed up for myself in that moment, then nothing else matters. Right. It doesn't matter if you win, lose. It doesn't matter if you failed or passed. It doesn't matter if you got a 60 or an 80. It doesn't matter. If you can say, I fully showed up, and I know in my heart of hearts that I'm not lying to myself. I know I worked hard to be in this position, and whatever happened, happened. That's worth a celebration. And right. We've created a society right now where the only celebration that is worth it is the one that's big and grand. And we've forgotten to celebrate the little things. And I talked on this a couple weeks ago about skills and challenges. We have gotten afraid to take on challenges that might be small because we're like, oh, we don't have the skill. Oh, I'm not good at it. No, can't do it because I don't get the smiley star. It's just like,
I don't want to get C on my report card because it might hurt my GPA.
yeah, it's just like, is it worth that, or do we want to create a society where people feel comfortable and called to fully show up in whatever they choose to do? And I think if you can fully show up in whatever you're called to do, that's great. And teachers, coaches, role models, it's our jobs, whatever type of position you're in, to do that. To be like, hey, I see you're not the best player. You don't have to say that, but like you need to encourage that player. Like, hey, show up, work hard. Like you'll get playing time. Like that was great. Like I played on a really good high school team. We had 3 sides. If you weren't very good and you showed up to practice, you were still going to play on one of those sides because,
Yeah.
well, that's what you get. You don't have to be the best player. You just have to show up and fully be. And we've lost this idea of being present in the moment and comfortable with those things.
Yeah, and part of that is this desire to always, to shoot for the top, to always win. And you got to imagine your coaches in that situation. It's a really tough position if you're coaching a high school team to say, well, what am I going to do? Because there are some players on this team that are looking to get the W, and they're going to do anything they can to get the W. And there are other players that they're giving everything they got, but they're not going to take you over the line. They won't do it. If you play those guys, you're going to lose. Right. And so the question has got to be, what do you really want? What's the desire? And
Yeah. And if your decision is to win at all costs, cool, go for it. But you can't let the guy who works his butt off not be represented, because then you're failing as a coach.
Yeah. And
because
then
if you don't celebrate the guy who's working hard, who's maybe beating your best player in sprints, you got to call that out, because if you want to win, you need to make sure everyone rises up to that level and sets the standard. And if you're not doing that as a coach, you're already failing your players, and you're making the guy who's working hard being like, hey, why is this guy, yeah, he might be better for me than me. Like, okay, like it doesn't matter, because we need to celebrate the fact that like people are working hard with less talent and they're being just as good. Come on. Like, stop failing as a coach, as a teacher, and always like looking at the greatness and look at the people who work hard and put in the effort. And that's worth celebrating, because I've mentioned this before. If you do that as a coach, as a role model, as a mentor, as a teacher, whoever you are, you're going to encourage that person once they step out of that realm and into their next phase of life, that they have the skills and the comfort to move on and go through. And that's important.
And if you don't do that, then you doom that youth to an adulthood where it's not worth putting in full effort, doing all those things. I keep coming back to this, and I say this a lot.
They shrink. When that happens, they shrink. Like,
right.
And we don't want a society of shrinking people. I have mentioned this quote a million times on this podcast. It's the Marianne Williamson quote of, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And then she goes on to later speak in that quote, which is a lesser famous quote from that bigger quote, is there is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And it's such an important understanding of we're shine like children do. If you ever watch the kid, they're just running around having fun being a kid. But eventually we get to the point of society has like crushed their dreams and saying, oh, you can't do that. You don't have the skill to do that. And then they shrink. They become small. And we need a society of big people living large.
Right. And, I say this a lot, and this is what I come back to. And this was the philosophy we had, Zach, when we were coaching your basketball team and all the other things I've ever coached, in tutoring kids in mathematics or in teaching statistics to professional pharmaceutical people is we are all Imago Dei. All right. And Marianne Williamson mentions that. And, you don't have to be, it's not a political thing, but you are called to be image and likeness of God. And that's a pretty awesome thing. And there's the trick is, if you are the mentor or the teacher or the coach or the person overseeing somebody's development, your job is to look inside that that person that's in front of you and see that image of God in there and figure out how you can get that to shine. And, uh, only rewarding the people who happen to be the fastest or who can hit the high C on the trumpet or who can write 65 pages in an hour, in the journal club, whatever it is, you're missing out and you're not pulling your weight. So that's where we've got to get to. Zach, how do we do that? Is there we can, this is kind of rare for us here to be kind of lamenting things on this podcast. And, because this sounds a little whiny on our part. How do we get, what do we do to promote all of these goods and to bring that light out? How do we do that as mentors
We
and
celebrate it when it
leaders?
shows up. If a kid is excited about something, okay, cool. If they suck at it, you don't need to tell them that, but like you can encourage them, be like, "Hey, this is cool. Like, I'm glad you enjoy doing this. You should keep doing this," and let them feel comfortable with it. If they get to the point where they're just like, "Oh, I do this because I'm good at it," and it becomes a chore, then they're not showing up for themselves. And you see that I see this all the time in sports. It's just like the kids playing it because they're good at it. They don't necessarily enjoy it or love it. It's not fun. They're doing it because it's a chore. When you actually get good at something, it's when you're having fun and you're being a kid again. If you're just doing the thing to check off the box, it's like any other chore. It's like taking out the garbage. And well, as a kid that hated taking out the garbage, well, it's not very fun.
You were never one to like taking out the garbage, but you know what? We don't have garbage in the house now, so you must have done a fairly good job at doing that. It is as you're saying that, I'm thinking two things. Okay, I'm thinking this family I knew a long, long, long time ago had a really great soccer player, who like was on superstar city teams all the way through elementary school, middle school, and then high school. Led the charge for whatever the high school team was, and was looking at major scholarships in college, and got to senior year and then just said, "I'm done. I'm over. I'm burned out. It's not any fun for me anymore. This is all work and it's not any fun." And then he ended up going to trade school and loving what he was doing. So that's one. All right. And then the second thing is, well, Zach, I don't remember the second thing because I'm getting old. I don't remember those things, but it is, you have got to celebrate the celebrations, and you've got to let people have the joy. Oh, here, Zach, this is it. They talk to the guys playing the World Series and winning games in the World Series in dramatic fashion, and they say to them, almost to a man, they will say, "This felt just like it felt in Little League." All right. They always talk about when they reach the pinnacle. All right. After going through all the difficulty of becoming a top tier athlete, they say it's like it was when it didn't matter, is what they say. So when the
Yeah,
fun comes is when it really doesn't matter. All right. That is the real joy with youth sports. Is it, it doesn't matter. It's fun when they win, but you know what? Even when you lose, you can go get ice cream. And man, that was my favorite part of this. Is this, the kids in the dugout, band practice, enjoying these kids having success. Theater, it's fun to watch theater kids. And the last night when they have their party, like whatever it is, when these guys have they have success by reaching the top of their ability. That's when you've achieved it. And it all comes from focusing first on the fact that they all have dignity and they all deserve everything you can give them.
yeah. I think it's important to like understand like they did a thing that it deserves to be celebrated, regardless of if you're the star of the show or if you're just maybe along for the ride. Like you're part of that. Like you showed up, and like it goes back to the community thing that we've talked about before. If you're at band practice and you're the last trombone on the trombone line, like you're still there on the team. You're still with everyone. You still get the community. You're still part of something. And we get so hyper focused on celebrating the next best big thing, and especially on social media, of everyone sharing all their achievements, all the greatness, and it's just like if you're someone who's struggling, it's just like, well, I got nothing, and you feel isolated, you feel alone, you feel trapped. Um, it's not healthy, but
You've pretty much stopped almost all social media stuff, haven't you? Right. I mean,
I'm on Instagram. I don't Facebook. I don't Twitter.
yeah,
And then my Instagram is specifically tailored to like people who make my life elevated. They compliment my
right.
way of life. They make me feel important. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I've also like gotten away. I'm like, I'm not comparing where I'm at in my journey, whatever that journey looks like, to someone else, because I'm where I need to be right now in this moment. And that goes back again to like the being able to fully show up to something. And we've created this society with social media and so many different things of, you see it I see it all the time with youth sports, which it needs a change. And this is something I'm working on. It's just like, we celebrate the 14-year-old kid on the AAU basketball team dunking. Cool. Are we also celebrating that kid for working hard to get into the position so he could learn how to dunk? Or are we just going to like hype him up till the end of time because he's on ESPN and Sports Center?
No, you'll hype him up you'll hype him up.
Or Or are we just going to continue to hype him up, make him into the next best thing, and then he's going to get to the NBA and he flames out? He becomes a nobody. Like that's not fair for the kid. Or is it the kid that like works really hard on the AAU basketball team? He's the number 3 option on his team, but number 1 and number 2 are both going to Kentucky and can dunk out of the gym. He's going to a smaller D1 school, but he gets to play basketball at the next level. That's worth celebrating. We've created this society where if you're not the best, if you're not great, if you're not celebrating things, you're not good enough. And which that has led, this is a different point entirely, of everyone looking and struggling because they're feeling like they're not good enough. And we need to understand that like coaches, role models, mentors, teachers, whatever it is, if you see someone working hard, putting in the effort and fully showing up, you need to celebrate that. Because when we get out of the protective systems of school, of extracurriculars, of sports, of whatever it may be, and we get into society and into life, which is really cruel and hard, if they don't have the comfort, the lessons, the safety net behind them, they're going to struggle, burn out, and fail, and other negative issues can come up. And that's not a society that I want to be a part of. I want to be part of a society that celebrates kindness and hope and generosity and grace. And if we can celebrate those things when kids are young, when they get older, they're going to, hopefully pass that on to the next generation. And like, as a coach, you have the greatest gift in the world, the greatest opportunity in the world to impact those kids beyond just the athletic endeavor that they're competing in.
One thing we used to say, the only game you have to win is the game against yourself, right? That's the only one you really have to win. And that is available to everyone out there. It's available to everyone out there. One of the great things about some of these I guess I would encourage all of you with kids out there is to put them into these activities that, well, first of all, that they want to do, but at least some of them, they should be with, I guess I'll call it an all-comers league. So they're used to playing with players that aren't, they're not going to college to play. They're not even going to play in high school. So in fact, some of them, we had kids, Zach, that played when we played the church league basketball. We had special needs kids on our team. And it's interesting talking to the players later, when they got older, they were like, I had no idea that guy was special needs. And part of that was the way we, Jerome and I, looked at how we would deal with these players is, you all have a gift to bring. We are going to maximize that gift, and we're going to make sure that you get an opportunity to demonstrate that talent, whatever that is. And that is the top moment of my coaching in the church basketball league wasn't beating the number 1 team or getting a little trophy or, the top moment was having the parent of one of these special needs kids tell me that he has never enjoyed an activity as much as he enjoyed that one, because he finally felt he was part of the group. And you know what? That's
a kid who's in 5th grade. That's what, 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
That's it took till then.
Yeah. And you wonder,
do better, coaches.
Zach, we had this kid on one of your teams. He was just this great shooter. And I remember the first time I saw him in, and you could just tell this kid had all the grace and poise, and you could see he played all the time. And he could shoot from everywhere. And I originally didn't want him on my team because one time after a game he had asked, this was the year before, he had asked how many points he had scored. And I was a little reluctant to take him the next year, but I did because we were, you have to, you can't just take the kids that are nice. You have to have a broad spectrum, and everybody's got to have, you want to balance teams. I tell you, that kid turned out to be one of the best teammates I've ever seen with regard to, with regard helping out the other player. He could hit threes from downtown, but I tell you, if one of the special kids needed a bounce pass in the lane, he got him the ball. He'd high five the kids after making the free throws. He was one of the best teammates. And, I found out, I watched his career from afar. He went on to play in high school, and I think he played at a Division III college team. And, he never made it on past that. But you know what? His success doing that was enough for that to be one of the best kids I ever was lucky enough to coach.
Yeah, I think that was the year when I played up, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
For me, as a like double underage or whatever I was at the time, like having a guy like that like look out for you, like that meant a lot. I'm going to talk about this. I've talked about this on before. My friend who I played high school football with, who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. Just his ability to bring you into situations, like that's what you want in a teammate. They don't have to be the best player. It's really cool when they are the best player and they're also able to do that. But when you get a coach that encourages that behavior and that culture, you're going to elevate everyone who's touched in that environment. And that's, I think, important. I mean, you ask about coaches, what is something that they're proud of? They don't care if a guy goes on to the NFL or something like that. Like, yeah, it's cool, but like if they can say that they've created a culture and a community that, elevates and complements people's lives in unique and special ways, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I hear you. I used to ask the coaches, and I said this before, is what manner of men are we creating here on these teams? And I'm going to challenge all the parents, all the coaches, all the mentors, all the theater directors, all the band guys, whatever you're doing are you making these kids better people? All right. Are you encouraging them to win the game against themselves, to grow, to stretch, and to win the day? That's where we need to be. The cream will rise to the top, right? The great ones will go do the great things they need to do, but they need to win themselves. They need to win themselves and maximize their version of Imago Dei.
Yeah, I think, we've mentioned before, it's just like, it's not a competition against everyone else around you. It's a competition about where you're at, how you're doing, and how you're showing up. It's me against me. I'm doing better than I was at this point in 2020. For me, that's really important, and that means a lot. And I'm going to continue to go forward. And I hope, me sharing, talking, being who I am as a person and all the lessons I've learned from sports is able to help people and impact them in a positive, enlightened way. That's what I'm looking to do. And I don't think I'd get there if I didn't have the coaches, the mentors, teachers, role models guiding me and setting me up for that type of success.
Yeah. And Zach, it was a pleasure doing that with you. And hopefully we will continue to do that sort of thing. All the coaches out there that are great coaches, keep it up. Those of you who are not that way, straighten up, get it right. And you'll get real greatness that way. It doesn't really matter how many teams you send to the state playoffs. What matters is how your men and how your ladies turn out. So, Zach, that's our admonishment for the youth leaders of tomorrow, and that's where we are today.
Yeah, that's, I think, a great point. I want to thank all of our listeners for listening, and I want to go remind you to go seek the good, be the good, and spread the good. Enjoy the adventure of life.